How to virtually wholesale over 5 deals a month step by step. What's up guys, Zach Ginn here, and in today's video, I want to give you my step-by-step analysis and guide on if you're ready to scale to over 5 virtual wholesaling real estate deals every single month. I'm going to give you the guide, some of the secrets no one really tells you in real estate wholesaling, actually how to scale up to 5+ deals per month. And honestly, you can use this guide for 5, you can put it to 50 or even 100. And I'm going to show you exactly today my proven systems, scripts, basically everything you need to know about running a system and virtually wholesaling 5+ deals a month. So before we get into it, do me a big favor, smash that like button and subscribe, and let's talk about it. You know, it really comes down to 5 things to do 5 deals per month in virtual wholesaling. I know that sounds like a nice little phrase a guru would say or anything to sell you a course or something, but like I'm giving it all for free. So these are the 5 things you really need, like the 5 frameworks it really takes for you to push your virtual wholesaling business to over 5 deals per month. And honestly, number 1, it really comes down to identifying the right market for virtual wholesaling. And everyone thinks it's kind of a false pretense here, but like your market is like the most important thing ever for your real estate wholesaling business. And it's not the truth for virtual. A lot of people do think it's a factor. You know, if you look at 100% like pie of virtual wholesaling, it's about 30%, I would say, is the right market, you know? And then you got the right marketing, and then you got the systems in place for yourself. It's kind of the weird thing because like you as a person, as a virtual wholesaler, you're pretty much half the key to success on that formula to success. You know, there's a lot of external factors out there. And one of these factors is the type of market you're in, right? Your virtual wholesaling market. The other type is your marketing. So you got to understand first the right market to be going after. You have to identify the perfect virtual wholesaling market. Now everyone knows at freewholesaling.com, I have my top 25 virtual wholesaling markets. And in my honest opinion, you shouldn't be doing any of those. I listed my top 25 just to give to you. There's other plays that you can be going after in different markets. Like, for example, I talked about this a while back, but like the perfect market's the one that you don't know about too much. And this happened a long time ago with like Oklahoma City. Oklahoma City was actually a really good virtual wholesaling market. And some people started talking about it. Some influencers got in there, started talking about it. People went on podcast and kind of spilled the beans, quote unquote, that Oklahoma City is an amazing virtual wholesaling market. And that kind of destroyed that market per se. And like, I'm going to give one, which I'm going to destroy, which a lot of people can get mad at me, but I can only choose one to sacrifice here. Is like Fort Wayne, Indiana. Fort Wayne, Indiana has a population over 100,000. It's kind of outside Indianapolis, and it's got an ARV under 100,000. Now, it's not Fort Wayne specifically, and I mean, I could say Fort Wayne the wrong way. Maybe it's not Fort Wayne, maybe it is. But like, that's a market nobody talks about. But really low ARV, population's over 100,000, and there's plenty of buyers. The key here on identifying a really good virtual wholesaling market is how many wholesalers are in the market and then how many deals are in that market. So for example, one of the biggest cities in the entire country, which is Houston, Texas, Harris County, it's huge, right? There's a ton of real estate wholesaling deals. Probably more than pretty much Chicago, I'd say, because Chicago's getting a little weird right now with wholesaling laws. But I would say that Houston has one of the most deals in the entire country, but there's so many people living there that the ratio is pretty good, and a lot of people can actually do well in Houston. I call it that teenage success factor, more or less, where if you can find teenagers that are just brand new in this business and they're doing really, really well in wholesaling real estate, it's probably a good bet to figure out that you should be going after that market. Like if someone's brand new and they're having success in that market, that might be a market you should be going after. I've seen so many teenagers, 18, 19, 20-year-olds that watch this channel, and they always hit me up like, Zach, oh my gosh, I made $100,000 this year. Thank you so much. I kind of don't know what I'm doing, and I help them tweak it, and then, you know, they run it off and do really well. But like, it's really cool seeing that. And there's people like in San Diego, which is probably not a good virtual wholesaling market, that still do well there. It just depends. Like, let's use San Diego. Like, San Diego's got a huge population, but the ARVs are way too high. So my key here on identifying a good real estate wholesaling market is I like the county, not the city, the county's population to be over 100,000. And I like the average ARV to be under 300. 250,000 is actually a pretty decent one too. But that's honestly what I would tell you here is you want ARVs under 300, 250,000-ish, especially in this market. And then you want a population from the county over 100,000. That's how you figure out a good market. And I'm honestly, like the way you find the best market out there in wholesaling real estate, in my personal opinion, is just by marketing there and seeing there's good results. Don't reinvent the wheel. Like, find if other people are being successful there. But like, that's honestly my personal opinion, how to find a really good virtual wholesaling market. Now, the second framework here is the marketing, right? You have to find the marketing that works. And the one quote I can give to you is, yes, it is really good to find a really good virtual wholesaling market, but that's not the entire pie. Like I told you, right? It's yourself, it's your marketing. The market has a pretty decent chunk factor of your success, but it's not everything. And one quote I always tell people, which I'm kind of saying it more in the channel, I kind of say it to virtual wholesalers when I'm doing JV deals, but like sometimes, but for most of the case, when someone comes to me and say, oh, this virtual wholesaling market sucks, and I'm like, why are you failing in Dayton, Ohio? That's a really good virtual wholesaling market. I always say this, don't blame the market, blame the marketing. And this is really true for most wholesalers that complain to me that the virtual wholesaling market stinks outside of like San Francisco, San Diego, Los Angeles, New York City. It's really your marketing that's the issue. So don't blame the market most of the time, blame the marketing. That's a huge factor. So most people aren't going after government lists. So the next framework here is identifying the marketing that works and then just triple, quadruple, just going after that thing in marketing that's going to give you the most success. So what I mean by this is like if you found, let's say we're doing Houston, Texas, right, for virtual wholesaling, and I found that the arrest record list that has high equity, like I figured out that list and I do text blasting on it and it's just destroying it for me. I'm doing so much better. Like I'm getting so many deals on that specific thing. Or let's say vacants in San Diego County, or like, let's say for example, like we're doing Nashville, Tennessee, and cold calling the vacant list is like the list that works. I recommend you go hard doing that. And if you could figure out the SMS works, the cold calling works for that list, go hard on it. Like that's what I figured out, especially in my local market and a lot of virtual wholesaling markets, especially some virtual markets I'm not going to say too much, but like in Tennessee, for example, I have secret markets in there that I do. But like I figured, hey, cold calling probates is hands down the greatest thing in that virtual wholesaling market. And I've gone quadruple, like 10x my efforts, my VA's cold calling on just probates in certain counties in Tennessee. And it's been absolutely just like, it's destructive. Like I'm destroying my competition there because I figured out a list that works, the marketing that works, and I just go after it. One thing when it comes to identifying the market too is the right zip codes. Because for example, like I know in like Macon, Georgia, there's certain zip codes there that work really, really good for virtual wholesaling. And I found zip codes that just don't work really well. And when I figured out like, it's an 80-20 rule, especially in a lot of virtual wholesaling markets. Like 80% of your deals are going to be in only 20% of zip codes in a county. This happens in my own market, and I figured out in other virtual wholesaling markets too. It's just like, if I figure out there's 10 zip codes in this market in virtual wholesaling in Georgia, I know most likely about 20% of those zip codes. So only 2 zip codes are going to have 80% of the entire deals for the entire city. It really helps you get really streamlined and efficient in your real estate wholesaling business, especially virtually. And when you're doing that, when you only have so much resources and time, you want to get the most effective outreach for your marketing. You want your marketing to have the best ROI possible. And that helps you go from 2 to 4 deals, because if you're just doubling your efficiency on your marketing, let's say you can only cold call 3 hours a day for 5 days a week and you're doing 2 deals a month. Well, if you can double your efficiency and just find the zip codes that work and you're double as efficient, you're not doing the bad zip codes, you can go from doing 2 deals a month to 4 deals a month. And if you add or the right market, you can even pump that up to 5. So that is the framework number 3, is figure out the market and the marketing. But number 3 here is scaling that system up for the market and the marketing. So if I figure out the market that works, so step 3 in the framework is I find the marketing works. So marketing comes down to 2 things. This is lists and then the marketing channel. You got to get both of these things right. And when you figure that out, that's when you go all out. I figure out these lists are doing really well and these marketing channels are doing really well. In virtual wholesaling, I've done places in Michigan, I've done Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, out west, in the South, in the North, in the Midwest, everywhere. I figured out some markets, SMS works really well. Some markets, it doesn't. Some markets, probates are amazing. Some markets, they aren't. A quick secret I'm going to give everyone right now, just because I'm ranting, but I figured out some markets, code violations are really easy to find. So that means that code violation list doesn't work really well because every wholesaler can kind of get that list. And then I found markets where there's only like 2 or 3 people that get the code violation list, other wholesalers. And there's only 2 or 3 people, and most of them aren't marketing the way that we do. And we destroy it doing that. And that's the key. It's like, if it's hard to get a list, the better that list is going to be. That's why I tell everyone to do probates, code violations, water shutoffs, fire damage properties, things like that. So like certain markets, certain lists work, certain lists don't. But like overall, like the vacants, government lists are going to be really good for you. So you want to scale that up. Number 4 here, really when you're scaling the marketing up, you got the right market, you're marketing like a mad person. Your systems to your acquisition is going to be really important too, because if you don't have the right acquisition systems in place, the right scripts, knowing what to say, again, the scripts are at freewholesaling.com. My ultimate virtual wholesaling acquisitions guide in there. If you're not conditioning your seller, seeing if they're ready to make a decision before you actually get onto the pitch to try to get the deal locked up. I mean, if you're not doing that, you're just doing a service for yourself in your virtual wholesaling operations, and that's going to help you so much. Like certain things in freewholesaling.com that we teach you for virtual wholesaling, like for example, when you give the contract to the seller, you need to make sure you're on the phone with them while you give them the contract. You've got to ask certain phrases to the seller, make sure they're on the phone while you send it so they have the question, because once you hang up, they could just ghost you. And that's a lot of people have those problems. So if you get your marketing really well, and then you get the marketing all right, so if marketing's really good and then you get the acquisitions really, really good in the systems and you do everything at freewholesaling.com, you're going to do really well. And then lastly, you get the systems for your dispositions, because I know people that got the marketing right, they got the dispositions right, they got the acquisitions right, and then they got the wrong market. And then boom, the whole thing's done. It's honestly the same thing for your disposition. Some people have the marketing right, they have the dispositions right, but like when it comes to the market's good, the marketing's good, the disposition's good, but like their acquisitions, they didn't condition the seller, boom, they're bust, they're terrible. And this happens with disposition. This is probably the most common one I've seen in people having problems when they're scaling up their businesses. The market's good, the marketing is good, their acquisitions is killer, but at the end of the day, they just can't sell their deals. They don't know how to deal with cash buyers. They waste their time getting terrible ones, other wholesalers trying to daisy chain them, and they ultimately fail. And this is a big problem. They don't have the right systems for dispositions. And this is kind of not my specialty per se, but like I do a lot of JVing deals, a lot of dispositions, and I know how to scale up like virtually dispositions really well. And what I've basically figured out is if you can go to cash sales and just cold call them. Now you got to use like listrei.com, like PropStream for that, or like ZachData.com batch leads for that. But like if you can just cold call people that are buying houses cash, especially in this changing market, you don't want to be dealing with the people on Facebook sometimes. You don't want to be cold calling the for rent sometimes. Now, I tell everyone to do that because those are free ways to get cash buyers. There's a lot of more vetting. But if you just want to like cut to the point and find people that are just buying houses for cash, you just got to go straight to the cash sales. And for a lot of people, I feel like that's going to be your best thing. And I'm assuming you're doing 1 to 2 deals a month. If you're trying to get to 5 deals a month, it's really hard to go from 0 to 5 a month. You got to start going very slow. You got to go going from like 0 deals to 1 deal a month, and 1 deal a month to 2 deals a month, and 2 to 3, 3 to 4, and then 4 to 5, right? Like it's very, very slower process doing it, but like I'm assuming you're making some money so you can afford to go to like listrei.com and cold call the cash sales. So that's kind of the last framework for the dispositions. If you're just cold calling cash sales, you're going to be fine. These people are pretty much already vetted per se. Now you got to keep vetting them, see if they're okay with assignments and everything like that. But your dispositions is going to be absolutely amazing. Like that's probably a lot of people have the biggest problems with. And it's, in my opinion, the easiest one. I feel like the marketing is the hardest one because you have to do so much testing. Does the fire damage property list work? Does the arrest record list work? Does the vacants work, right? Does the high equity? Does the tired landlord, like you got to do all the zombie properties, the pre-foreclosures, like you got to check, does driving for dollars, like you got to do all this type of marketing to figure it out. Some people figure it out, but they're just terrible at the cash buyers. And then some people get it. I like to say I'm perfect at all of it. You know, when I started out, I was definitely had my strong set was marketing when I was starting out in virtual wholesaling. The dispo is a little harder for me. The acquisitions was definitely a new learning curve when I started out with it. So I get it. I'm more marketing oriented. Cash buyers is marketing in my opinion. So it's pretty easy. But guys, like those are my frameworks for getting 5+ deals per month in virtual wholesaling. If you got any value of this video, do me a big favor and smash that like button and subscribe. Let me know what help you need in your virtual wholesaling business. I'd love to help. Again, this is a Zach Ginn original content here. So do me a favor and smash that like button and subscribe. Check out my other channels. I'll go to the channels tab. I got a lot of other ones which we do exclusive content on. But I appreciate it, guys. Do me a favor, smash the like button and subscribe. And we'll see you guys soon. Have a blessed one.